This is about to change horror forever, but will it be for good or for bad? The Backrooms. On May 29th, we are getting a full cinematic adaptation of it, and it will be the first film of its kind, an adaptation of internet horror. Well, other than that one slender film that we don't talk about, but it is the first analog and liminal horror movie. Now, I'm sure you've heard another trillion YouTubers' opinions on this, but I'm here to tell you why everybody arguing about this film is missing the point, and also what you should actually be worried about. So who's actually making this? Kane Parsons, a 20-year-old YouTuber and VFX artist who is responsible for the original video adaptation of The Backrooms. And yes, that is 72 million views you see. He will be the director of this film. A24, these guys are producing. They are pretty well known for making outside-of-the-box movies that include being directed by amateur and newcomer directors. They've made films such as Hereditary and Midsummer. This seems all pretty fitting, right? Well, that's what I thought. It appears some people aren't very happy with Kane directing the film, and it appears there are two main reasons for this. So firstly, people don't want monsters. This is mostly the TikTok audience, so it is safe to say that they are all of single-digit ages. And I understand that kids wouldn't want it to be scary, but it's a horror film. So it kind of has to be. And anyway, the original Backrooms post mentioned there being things lurking within the Backrooms. And on top of that, this is Kane's interpretation, which famously has a monster in every single video. People have to remember that having Kane direct the Backrooms is the same as having Christopher Nolan direct The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is Nolan's interpretation of Batman. It might not be fully accurate to what's considered real lore, and you might not like it, but it doesn't matter, because there are plenty of other Batman variations or interpretations for you to watch. There are other interpretations of the Backrooms, which you can watch elsewhere. The thing is, can you imagine how boring the Backrooms would be without the monsters? Literally nothing would ever happen. As it is, it's probably very difficult to keep the horror alive across a full feature-length film and keep it still scary, which I will get onto that a bit more in a minute. The other problem people have with Kane directing, which kind of links into the monster situation, is that, as mentioned earlier, Kane didn't actually make the Backrooms, he just made the video adaptation. But this is still fucking stupid. Kane was in that community and made the second most influential content of the Backrooms, obviously coming behind the original post. And I really don't get what people want instead of Kane. He clearly has the experience to make this happen and is the most known creator from the Backrooms. Without Kane, we'd probably get something like that Forbidden Slender movie, which felt like giving a middle-aged something he didn't have a clue or care about and telling him to make it into a film just for the sake of money. Now this is actually the part that could sink it. The Backrooms work because of its fine line between reality and fiction. Like most analog and liminal horror, it's shot in first person. This makes you feel like you are actually there, and it will fuel your growing fear for the unknown of that environment. You are literally waiting for the monster to jump out at you. And to add to that with the liminal factor, the weirdly nostalgic design and familiarity of it all leads in with the emptiness to create an unsettling atmosphere on its own. It triggers your fight or flight because your body senses that something is actually wrong here because it's empty. Here's where it gets interesting though. I personally think that adding a story and making it third person will remove a lot of these factors. We will just be watching people walk around these hallways waiting for monsters instead of waiting for them ourselves. I also think that the plot and story, if done wrong, could completely ruin the effect of horror too. If we have fed too much lore, it completely removes the horror factor and it becomes a sci-fi instead. It strips away that fear of the unknown, the thought that you could be stuck here forever and that something is lurking within these walls. The Walking Dead did something similar to this, where it failed to keep the horror that its comics had when they added the entire lab part where the virus was explained. The more you know about something, the less scary it is. The final concern, which goes back to a video I previously made, is the rising popularity of this genre of horror. Unfortunately, the reality is a lot of people don't really understand internet horror or even analog horror at that. This is fairly obvious from when around the time analog horror became more widespread, ironically around the time when Kane released the first Backrooms video, people just started hopping on the trend and making shit that was just not scary or unfunny parody and irony. Just anything for a quick cash grab basically. And making this into a feature film is only going to introduce it to more people that don't understand the genre. This could even result in maybe poor reviews. And if the investors are scared of that, then that is the last thing we need, because we really don't want people telling Kane to make the film more accessible for a larger audience, further removing the thing that makes this niche, well, this niche. But here's the thing that everyone's sleeping on. There is one enormous thing that this film could do, and it is absolutely game-changing. The YouTuber director pipeline. Now, of course, YouTubers have been making films for a while. I'm sure a few spring into your mind, but I don't mean them ones. I'm talking about the actually high quality films that have had soul put into them. Talk to Me, directed by Raka Raka. Shelby Oaks, directed by Chris Stuckman, although that did stumble on its final act. The recently released Iron Lung, which was directed by and starred in by the one and only Market Fire.
Hey guys.
Oh God, no! No!
And now The Backrooms, directed by Kane Parsons. This new pipeline is effectively creating more interesting films than Hollywood is right now. This also has the opportunity to help smaller aspiring filmmakers to actually get into an already difficult job market. Trust me, it's fucking difficult. People who upload their work to YouTube like Kane did could generally benefit from this like Kane has as well. And as someone who has their own small indie films on YouTube, this excites me. So will it actually be good? I think so, and I don't say that lightly. Kane has spent years living inside this world. Kane didn't stumble upon this project, he literally built the version that keeps everyone's attention as it is already. The vision is clearly there, and so is his passion. The only real concern you can have is outside investors affecting Kane, but A24 is usually pretty good at letting the directors cook. But if the film becomes a quick cash grab for a mainstream audience that doesn't actually care about analog horror, then we are in trouble, because it will lose the one thing that made the Backrooms actually worth adapting in the first place. If they just let Kane make his film, this could be one of the most interesting horror films we get this year. If they don't, it will just be as bad as the Slender film, or even worse, nothing will ever happen.